In an unexpected twist, my two daughters expressed their gratitude in a manner that took me by surprise. This is a genuine tale of infidelity. Welcome back to Storyteller, a realm where heartwarming and captivating tales await you. Today, we embark on the poignant journey of Flan, a devoted single father who has faced the unimaginable alongside his twin children. My name is Flan. A profound emptiness resides within me, an unfillable void left by the loss of my wife during the birth of our two daughters. Since that time, I have taken on the roles of both mother and father to Bijo and BJ Scarlito, two children whose striking similarities sometimes make it a challenge to distinguish between them. Bijo, the eldest daughter, embodies a steady grace and thoughtfulness in all her actions. The younger, BJ Scarlito, brims with vivacity and expressiveness at every turn. Despite the challenges life presents, I find a profound sense of purpose in witnessing the daily growth of my two children. In spite of their mother's emotional unavailability, I have poured my heart and soul into ensuring they experience a joyful childhood. My only desire was to witness my children blossom into kind, fulfilled adults as the years unfolded. Despite Bijo and BJ Scarlito being 20 years old, attractive, intelligent, and vibrant young women, I never anticipated that they would choose to reward me in such an unexpected manner. Rather than returning home at dusk as was customary, this afternoon felt distinctly unusual. Today's tasks underwent a slight transformation. It was a welcome surprise to escape the confines of work earlier than usual, a rare opportunity that seldom came my way. I rushed home, eager to embrace the rare tranquility of this fleeting moment. As I approached the gate, I found it ajar, a rarity that piqued my curiosity. My heart constricted slightly. A nebulous intuition started to take root in my thoughts. With a fleeting pause, I gently nudged the door ajar and stepped into the room. As the door creaked open, laughter floated through the air from the living room, and I halted in my tracks. The sounds that filled the air were unfamiliar to me, like my daughters engaging in conversation with friends or immersed in a movie. It was a peculiar voice, unmistakably belonging to a man. Unease washed over me, my heart quickening as I stood frozen, straining to catch every sound around me. The sound of that voice, intertwined with Bijo's laughter, sent my heart racing in a tumultuous and bewildering manner. Each step weighed down my legs, dragging me slowly toward the living room. The sounds grow ever more pronounced. My curiosity and unease compelled me to continue, unable to turn away. As I approached the door, an unexpected sight within caught me off guard. There stood Bijo, the cherished little girl I had always held dear, unadorned, alongside her sister and an unusual young man. None of the three seemed to register the world around them, as though they were adrift in a realm of their own making. I stood still, my whole self paralyzed in disbelief, before erupting into a tempest of fury. What could this possibly be? My voice pierced the stillness of the room, shattering the air around me as I shouted. All three emerged from their reverie simultaneously. With my piercing gaze fixed upon him, the young man fumbled to collect the scattered garments, his hands trembling as if caught in a web of uncertainty. Bijo stood frozen, her complexion drained of color, her gaze expansive, her lips quivering as if words were on the brink of escaping, yet silence enveloped her. The older sister was just the same, standing there quaking, desperately trying to conceal herself behind the sofa pillow. "Dad, Dad," Bijo called out, her voice barely above a whisper. "What is everyone engaged in at the moment?" I shouted, gripping the armrests of the chair beside me, struggling to rein in my escalating fury. Bijo rushed ahead, her palms outstretched as if beseeching for compassion. "I found myself reluctant to heed your words, yet I implored you, Dad, to take a breath and allow me the chance to clarify." Faced with such a repugnant tableau, how could I possibly lend an ear? In that fleeting moment, every value and principle I had diligently cultivated over the years appeared to vanish. I gazed upon the young man. I shouted, "Get out of here now," as my voice sliced through the heavy air. With a hesitant demeanor, he drew near, hastily donning his garments, lowering his gaze, and murmuring a handful of apologies. He was on the verge of leaping over, ready to seize his neck in a moment of discipline, just a few feet from me, unable to hold back any longer. Bijo, however, moved with a swiftness that left me trailing behind. I take responsibility for this, so let's not dwell on it, Dad. Release him, Bijo pleaded, her voice thick with tears. In a bid to halt my progress, my eldest daughter rushed over and enveloped me in an arm hug. Father, please refrain from this, for we were in error. With a deep breath, I halted, my eyes locked on the young man as he stealthily approached the door. Just before he made his escape, he cast one final glance at me, his legs trembling with uncertainty. The room descended into a heavy silence as the door clicked shut. With my heart still brimming with fury, I pivoted to confront my two daughters. Yet, I came to an abrupt stop upon catching sight of Bijo's sorrowful crimson eyes. What approach should I take to address their behavior at this moment? In that moment, the two girls I held dear were clinging to me, trembling and filled with fear, utterly helpless to offer any assistance. I dashed up the stairs, leaving them both in my wake. Pressing my back against the door, I forcefully shut it, the echo of the impact ringing starkly in the hushed stillness of the house. Though my body felt utterly exhausted as I stood there, my mind refused to quiet, racing with relentless energy. My breath quickened, and I felt as though I were caught in a whirlwind, trapped within the chaos with no escape in sight. Both of my beloved daughters hold a special place in my heart. From the moment I cradled them in my arms, I made a solemn promise to safeguard them, to nurture their growth, and to empower them to embrace lives rich with purpose and joy. Yet what had just unfolded before me felt akin to a sharp slap across the face. The authority I once thought I wielded as a father began to slip away, for they had shed their naive childhood selves and transformed into individuals I scarcely recognized. When did I drift so far from them that I overlooked these changes and the missteps that had occurred? I envisioned Bijo's deep crimson eyes and her trembling voice, earnestly begging for my forgiveness. The experience was excruciating, for as a father, I had never envisioned myself facing such a predicament. I continued to hold on to resentment, and it wasn't directed solely at them. I was filled with regret, burdened by the thought that I could have done something to avert this situation. The inquiries lingered in the air. What prompted them to choose the house, specifically the heart of the living room, a space that had always been the centerpiece of family gatherings? Why was my perspective overlooked, as someone who has devoted a lifetime to raising children and steadfastly maintained the values I cherish? As I endeavored to grasp the concept, I found myself increasingly ensnared in a web of confusion and bewilderment. With my head cradled in my hands, I perched on the edge of the bed, my eyes brimming with unshed tears, yet I summoned the strength to hold them back. Could crime alter the course of events? As a father, I find myself grappling with the weight of expectation, striving for strength. Yet, in this moment, I can't shake the feeling that I am merely human and that strength feels just out of reach. Upon encountering them once more, uncertainty enveloped me, leaving me at a loss for words and actions. Receive a reprimand? Reprimand? I felt entirely justified in my actions, yet I couldn't help but wonder. Would this truly enhance the situation, or merely push them further apart? An idea suddenly emerged in my mind. I need to talk, but not at this moment. I required a moment to reflect on the events that had unfolded, beyond merely seeking tranquility. I rose from my slumber and made my way to the closet, searching for a crisp, clean shirt to don. My thoughts were frosty, yet my skin remained drenched in sweat. I sought refuge from those unsettling images, yearning for a place to unwind. The very essence of this house and this room enveloped me, suffocating in its grip. With each step I descended the stairs, my heart weighed down as though I were carrying a mountain on my back. I paused, the sound of Bijo and her sister's quiet sobs drifting up from downstairs reaching my ears. In an instant, the tempest of my anger dissipated, giving way to an indescribable heaviness that settled upon me. In the midst of my frustration, it dawned on me that I held the key to alleviating their bewilderment, though the moment was not yet ripe for intervention. To sidestep the necessity of facing them while my anger simmered just beneath the surface, I required both time and distance to regain my composure. As I approached the living room, a wave of disbelief washed over me. My girls had transformed in ways I never expected. I found myself indifferent to the sight of their flimsy pajamas, which betrayed a hint of their unease. My mind was a whirlwind of ideas, making it difficult to focus on the finer points. Bijo hurried to my side the moment I entered, grasping my hand and softly pulling me closer. She added, her voice trembling slightly, "Come on, Dad. We have something to share with you." I tried to push Bijo's hand away, but I found myself unable to do so, captivated by the fear and tears that filled her eyes. They belonged to my daughters. Upon witnessing that gaze, how could I possibly have summoned strength? After a moment of hesitation, I finally decided to follow Bijo and settled into a nearby chair. I held my tongue, patiently anticipating their elucidation. I found myself in a state of quiet anticipation, holding my tongue as I awaited their words. Bijo settled into the seat next to me, her eyes fixed on me as if she feared I might suddenly rise and leave. Though her face bore a look of concern, her sister remained seated opposite her, avoiding direct eye contact with me. In the stillness that enveloped us, the soft rhythm of my breath mingled with the gentle sighs of my two daughters, creating a serene symphony of quietude. Bijo finally found her voice, though it trembled slightly as she spoke.
"I'm truly sorry, Dad."
I acknowledge my error and find it indefensible. However, I never expected the situation to deteriorate to this extent, nor did I foresee your swift return. Her sister's voice trembled with regret, each word heavy and stifled, as if the weight of her emotions threatened to choke her. Our intentions were not aligned with that outcome. In that moment, we found ourselves at a loss for direction. "I'm sorry too, Dad." Bijo grasped my hand, her voice trembling with each stutter, tears welling in her eyes. "I sincerely apologize, Dad." I find myself struggling to articulate my heartfelt apologies. I looked upon them, a heaviness settling in my chest. Though their apologies rang with sincerity, they fell short of quelling the storm of my anger. Yet it seems this remorse fell short of mending all that was broken. I sat in silence, enveloped by a whirlwind of emotions. Bijo's gaze pierced through me, a haunting blend of sorrow and terror reflected in her tear-streaked eyes. Her sister was equally unsettling, gazing at me with a palpable fear, as if my presence was something to be dreaded. Even with their heartfelt intentions, those apologies failed to soothe the storm of emotions within me. While I couldn't overlook the events that transpired, I also couldn't dismiss the genuine remorse they expressed. In the stillness of the room, the only sound that pierced the silence was the weighty rhythm of heavy breathing. My body quaked, and an indescribable feeling of suffocation enveloped me. I let out a sharp breath and said softly, "I understand that you're feeling quite disappointed and angry, but what has occurred is simply what has occurred. This action is irreversible." Bijo grasped my hand with urgency, her eyes pleading for understanding. I find myself at a crossroads, unsure of the path to take. "Dad." A profound sense of regret washed over me. Her sister lowered her gaze in unison. She spoke with a stutter, her words hesitant yet filled with a sense of uncertainty. "We merely wished to take a chance, unaware of the extent to which our endeavor would unfold." Anger or reprimands would serve no purpose at this moment, yet the pain felt as if my heart were being torn into pieces. At times, I require a moment to fully absorb their sorrow while guiding them to comprehend their actions. As I looked at my two daughters, whom I cherish unconditionally, a peculiar warmth blossomed inside me. Endless anger is a burden I can no longer bear. As their father, I must ensure that my anger does not jeopardize our bond, no matter the situation. Despite the palpable tension surrounding us, I enveloped them in my embrace, holding them close with a firm hug. I held my tongue and wrapped them in a warm embrace, inviting a fleeting sense of tranquility to wash over us once more. Finally, I murmured softly, "I will not abandon you," yet I find myself uncertain about how to prevent this from unfolding. "Very well, let us collaborate on this matter." Bijo offered a subtle nod, and her sister promptly mirrored the gesture. The air was imbued with a serene tranquility. Regardless of our moods, the three of us found ourselves anchored by a shared location to begin our journey. Expressing my feelings proved to be a challenge, caught in the tumult of profound love and simmering rage for my two girls, yet the disappointment lingered unmistakably. As I embraced them, all those emotions seemed to dissipate, replaced by a singular, new feeling, a figure that evoked both horror and compassion. As they remained my children, I found it impossible to hold on to my anger for long. Bijo and her sister remained in their seats as I set them free, their expressions etched with concern and their eyes glistening with tears. They held their gaze away from me, as if my final decision hung in the balance, and they feared to witness it. With a subtle bite of her lip, her sister pivoted to meet my gaze. With a trembling voice, she confessed, "I know I made a mistake, Dad. I promise I won't do it again, but I can't seem to forgive myself. Can you find it in yourself to believe me?" My eyes, heavy with sorrow and fatigue, lingered on them. It was just my two daughters and me, as everything else seemed to fade into the background. I came to understand that I could no longer dwell in the past or allow my anger to govern my life endlessly. Mistakes are a universal experience, yet it is our response to them that truly defines us and shapes our journey forward. I pulled them close, and this time it was more than just a hug. It was a strong embrace, devoid of any hatred or anger. I responded, my voice trembling, "I won't leave you behind." While I may not possess the answers to restore things to their former state, I firmly believe that united, we can navigate through this challenge. With eyes full of hope, Bijo and her sister exchanged knowing nods. For an extended stretch of time, the trio remained seated in silence, each lost in their own thoughts, the air thick with unspoken words. I rose from my slumber and approached the window, drawn by an unusual sense of tranquility that enveloped the atmosphere, as though the world was poised for a fresh beginning, despite the inevitable transformations it had undergone. The sunset outside gradually surrendered to the encroaching stillness of the night. Though my heart remained in a state of unrest, today I found a way to rise above my anger, and perhaps that was the most significant victory of all. The future lay before me, a canvas of choices waiting to be painted, yet the past remained an unchangeable tapestry, woven with threads of what had been. I turned to face them and said once more, "I love you," and this time, the pain had vanished. What remained was love, a force as steadfast and unwavering as a father's devotion to his offspring. The room's atmosphere gradually settled back into its usual rhythm after that fleeting moment of silence, yet it was premature to assert that it had fully mended. I'm uncertain when my fury completely faded, but for now, at least, I no longer feel the sharp pain in my heart when I look at my two daughters. We lingered in silence for what felt like an eternity, yet an unusual connection with my daughters enveloped us. A bond shaped by embraces, forgiveness, and the mutual recognition of our need for each other, rather than by empty promises or justifications. After that, I rose and made my way to my room. The burden had been eased, yet a multitude of unanswered questions lingered within my heart. Despite the challenges, we had weathered a formidable storm, and I felt a strong conviction that we would persevere. My family would endure as a family, despite the challenges we faced. The next day, all seemed to have returned to its usual state. The house held on to its warmth. As the morning light streamed in, the joyous laughter of the children echoed through the room, filling the air with warmth and delight. Yet, within the depths of my heart, I unearthed something truly profound. I've come to realize that patience and understanding stand as the most essential virtues within a family. Occasional errors arise to challenge our patience and affection, not to sever the bond we share. Errors are a universal experience, shared by both parents and children alike. What truly counts is our ability to learn from these missteps and strive for improvement. While challenging, forgiveness is vital for the family's resilience. Do not let anger cloud your vision and hinder your ability to love and support one another. Embrace the art of sharing and the power of listening. Steer clear of allowing your anger to dictate your actions, particularly in matters concerning family. At times, The healing of scars can be found in the warmth of a gentle embrace and the power of a kind word. Always keep in mind that the greatest treasure lies in the love of family, and we must persist unwaveringly on this journey.